Today's build video, we're going to make a bathroom vanity light out of an old toolbox. And let's start with that bathroom. It was a complete mess. It was dirty, had stuff everywhere, couldn't keep it clean, and didn't want to keep it clean. It was time for an overhaul, so I started with the vanity light. I took the old light down and tried to use as many parts from it as I could to make this new vanity. The main components I kept were the sockets, the nuts and bolts, and these threaded adapters that held the arms onto the previous base. They had a nice plastic sleeve inside, so I knew they'd protect the wires when I made the transition on this metal toolbox. And here's the toolbox. I got it a few years ago from a friend. It was dirty, beat up, scratched, and didn't work properly. After examining it for a few minutes, I decided I was going to just cut a hole in the bottom and leave it function as it was designed. I did have to repair one of the latches, so I decided to take all the hardware off and make it easier for painting. I took it outside and gave it a hose down. Then I used some degreaser to get all the old gunk off. I scrubbed it with some steel wool to get it as clean as I could and ready for painting. I really like these Rust-Oleum products. I hit the toolbox with some Rust-Oleum metal primer and then came back with some Farm Tool Red paint. I figured if anything said toolbox, it was Farm Tool Red. After painting, it was time to reassemble. I did cut the hole in the toolbox already, but my GoPro, I found out, doesn't like sparks. I have this Milwaukee 12-volt rivet tool that really comes in handy on projects like this. Most frustrating part of the whole process was getting a straight cut on the lens. Using a razor knife and a straight edge, I was finally able to get a clean snap. I was planned on putting the tray in as intended, but I later realized if I flipped it upside down, I got additional clearance. Then I realized that there was a ½ inch of wasted space from the lid. So if I add ½ inch spacers, I could get maximum clearance and install some smart LED bulbs. So that's what I ended up doing. I just cut some scrap ½ inch wood and glued it in place as risers to get the tray another ½ inch higher. With thin metal, you should always drill a small hole and then bore it out to size with a step drill bit. I did that for all the holes you see me drill on this project. I was able to secure the sockets to this tray by using the hardware that previously held the arms on the outlet. I was really excited about these threaded inserts because they had a plastic sheet that was going to protect the wire as I went through this metal plate. I put the smart bulbs in and did a test fit, and everything came out perfect. I also needed to protect the wires coming out of the back of the toolbox, so I decided to insert this rubber grommet. I used my calipers to figure out the size, drilled a pilot hole, and then bored out again with the step drill bit. I've been working on this logo for a long time, and this was the first one I was able to print out on my vinyl cutter and put on a project. It means a lot to me, and it's got some real sentimental value. One thing I hadn't considered was how am I going to get this thing on the wall? I ended up using some 3/4 inch plywood to make a bracket. I notched out a section of the back piece to go over the junction box on the wall. I didn't want to have raw wood over the junction box, so I made a plate out of some galvanized metal to go into this insert. After I had my bracket painted and built, it was time to get it connected to the toolbox. I just found my centers and pre-drilled some holes so that I could put the bracket on the wall and then hang the toolbox up without having to hold it in place, then wire it after everything was attached. The center of my bracket was going to go directly into a stud, so I decided to attach it with some 3-inch screws. I countersunk the heads and then put the bolts on the outside that my toolbox was going to attach to. Mounting the bracket was pretty straightforward. I just had to make sure that my screws went into the stud and I left enough clearance to pull the wires out to wire everything up. I checked several times to make sure that the bracket stayed level, and I did the same for the toolbox. The last part of the build was putting the lights and the lens back in. I was a little nervous that the lens might snap, but it went in without a problem. Turn on the shop bathroom lights. And here it is, my Toolbox vanity light. I hope you enjoyed the video and have a great day. I can't wait to show you what I'm doing with the rest of the bathroom.